We want to be profitable on the first sale because if we're not, it's really tough, especially because it's an infrequent purchase. But I want to make sure that our agents are giving customers the very best experience they can give because we want referrals. Like that's how our business remains successful.
Welcome to another episode of the Ecommerce Toolbox Expert's Perspective. Joining us today, we have Jared Kugel, all the way over from Hoboken, New Jersey. So welcome to the show. Thanks, Jared.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited for this.
Awesome. Well, I always like to start off by learning a bit more. So obviously you're the founder and the CEO of Tire Agent, D2C brand. Maybe talk to us a bit about how you ended up founding this company. I know that there's a bit of family ties, but I'm sure the audience wants to hear it from you and not from me.
Yeah. So I grew up in my family's company, which was a wholesale and retail tire business. My parents were in it basically for like 40 years or maybe even a little bit older than that. And my cousins were in it and my best friends were in it. And so I've been in the tire industry myself for probably a total now of about 20 years. And I've done everything from logistics to helping with the manufacturing to B2B sales, pretty much everything you could think of, including working in the warehouse.
That's awesome. So it sounds like it's a family business, a lot of legacy. Also, it's kind of well documented that the tire industry is not exactly, in some cases, at the cutting edge of technology. So maybe talk us through how you went from that to actually starting an e-com business.
Yeah. So I had kind of noticed a few things over time. So when I was doing B2B sales in that aspect of my career, at the ripe age of in my 20s, I was going and I was spending a lot of time at the tire shops that were our customers. And I noticed that for one, a lot of the shops were understaffed, which is a complete unfair situation for the counter people, right? And it's also unfair for the customers because they're not getting the time that they need to understand the differences between different tires. If they can't afford the tires and they need, whether it's financing or alternative payment methods or options, frankly, the counter people don't have the time to really fully explain everything. And then on top of that, there's a pressure. It's an unspoken pressure, but there's a pressure that like my car's already there. I got to just make a decision and get the tire. And so when you combine all of those, it really kind of over time made a lot of sense and started clicking that, hey, there's got to be a solution out there that's more than just shopping based on price. You got to shop based on some value propositions. And so I figured I was going to lean in on that part. And early on, when I first got into the space, online tire sales were somewhat established, but still very in its infancy stage. I think when I got in, it was maybe roughly around like 6-7% of the market. I think today it's probably closer to like 16 to 20%-ish range. But I kind of saw those disconnects from the consumer side, and I knew that there had to be a better way to do it. And it was never with the intention of replacing brick and mortar. It was really with the intention of complementing brick and mortar. Because obviously I'm not going to get into installation, right? Like that's just not our business, but we're going to get into the sale and the experience. And so going door to door and spending time at the shops, I got to see really how it's happening real time on a consumer side of things.
That's really, really cool. So obviously you grew up in the family business, you had a unique insight, internet was kind of popping off when you were a kid, and then you're kind of seeing this in your 20s and you're saying, hey, looks like there's a business here. Do you think the tire industry is deeply rooted in tradition and is different than maybe other categories that might have taken off in e-com early, or do you think it's an early adoption category? I'm curious, how did you see it?
So just to give you like some context, I'm 38 years old now. I've been in the industry since I was about 17, 18 years old, give or take. And so I've definitely seen a very interesting progression. So when I started, the only people that were buying tires online were the people that knew exactly what they wanted, and they were just trying to shop the price. Today, the transition is every type of customer is online. So you're getting the mainstream people, you're getting the soccer mom, you're getting the person with the trucks that just want something cool, like you're getting everything. And what I was really trying to do was give people a new experience. I wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel, because if I was just trying to be only caring about the price shoppers, then you're ignoring the actual major hurdle that was preventing tires from growing exponentially online, which was, who are these people? How do you know that's not just someone shipping tires out of their garage? It's what is the education behind the tires? The other thing is we had to learn a lot in the beginning. because we didn't know who the customer was online. It was like a guessing game. So when you think about what the resistance is, it's, do I trust a person giving me advice? How am I going to get the tires installed? What tires am I buying? And is there even a difference between the tires? And then, of course, you have, how am I going to pay for the tires? Because it's an expensive purchase. I think I saw something that the average consumer can't afford more than a $400 purchase on the whim. And I've seen tires as cheap as a few $100s, and I've seen it as expensive as a couple thousand, depending on the vehicle, the tire getting, all that stuff. So I built a foundation for Tire Agent that was based around reputation. If you look at our online reviews, they're stellar. If you look at the content, in the beginning, I was my own content writer. I literally hand wrote a lot of the bios of every tire by myself. And then we needed the early adopters to kind of get in and start buying so we can get reviews and referrals. And now a big chunk of our business is repeat business. And it's the friends, it's the spouses, the family members, the neighbors. And then we focused on only a few value propositions, which was fast delivery and affordability, right? And affordability could be everything from price, but it could also be, how am I going to pay for the tires? Am I going to pay over time? Am I going to pay in 4 installments? Am I going to pay with a credit card? We wanted to offer a multitude and give people that option, because in a store, they're maybe getting 1 or 2 options, and you're giving a stranger your personal information, which you may or may not trust, depending on how well you know the person. So we wanted to make sure that we were really focusing on the mainstream consumer, not the enthusiast early on, because it's the mainstream consumer that need a little bit more hand-holding early on.
That's really interesting. And maybe walk me through the customer journey. So I'm looking for a pair of tires. I'm coming on, I put in my make and model. There's different options. Yeah, from there I choose, I purchase, maybe I split the payments up, and then you guys deliver it directly to my house. Does it get delivered to a dealer that actually installs it? How does that work?
Yeah, well, when we started, we were like everyone else online. So you put in your make and model, and then the tires just sorted cheapest to most expensive, right? That's how we started. But as we started to kind of listen to customer feedback, because I read almost every review that's told about us online, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just going to be like everyone else. So over time, we started to cater the experience to what an average consumer who knows nothing about tires was about. So we asked a whole bunch of people, and I remembered my days being in retail where I would literally ask people, what do you care about? Right. And so the very early on was just very simple. What's the best for the money? So not the cheapest, not the most expensive, maybe like something in like the middle-ish range. What is the best warranty tire? Because some people live in a really bad area with really bad potholes and really rough roads and all sorts of things. Or some people really were driving a lot of miles to work. I remember at one time I was driving almost like 60 miles a day driving for my job. So like I can relate to that. So then the next one was, what's on a deal? So those were our 3 initial categories that we had. Then we started dividing up into a lot of different filters for all different reasons. And then we added a new filter that focused on all weather, which is not a winter tire, not an all season tire, really a good hybrid in the middle. So I'm really building filters out that an average consumer can look and be like, this makes sense. And the next wave of Tire Agent is going to be one step further than that, which is, how is this person using their vehicle? Hey, let's help them pick the right tire based on how they're using it, or what the purpose is that they're looking for. So over time, we've just kept perfecting the search experience. And then originally we had no installers. Then we started working with a lot of installers. And then we felt like volume was really not the answer. So then we peeled it back. And then we relaunched with a vetting process of the installers. And today we work with installers that meet a really good online reputation, that have the right equipment we're looking for, that have a good coverage for us, that can install the range of tires we want. Like, we're a lot more pickier now. So now when people know that they're picking an installer with us, it's not just a random person we got off of like Google. It's someone that's been vetted, that we spoke to, that we know is like a good shop. So the experience is, you put your year, make, and model or your tire size. You see a really clean shopping experience that has some really easy filters to follow. From there, you could pick your installer. And then the last part, when you get to the payment page, you see a whole multitude of payment options, from credit card to lease to own to pay in full to really everything. And the goal of that was really to try to accommodate a really wide range of customers, because really no 2 people had the same scenario. So that's how we kind of approached it, just taking it one step at a time and thinking about it in the mindset of just an average consumer, what would be easy for them.
That's interesting. And that's a completely different experience than what people were effectively used to before. Before you go in, you're kind of committed to the person. You might not know exactly what you're getting. You're kind of like your car's already there. You're getting pressured. That's interesting.
Well, so you just hit upon something. So when I started with Tire Agent, obviously I was the first customer service person, right? And so I would be on the phone with people with no rush. I don't care if it took a few minutes or if it took hours. I wanted to make sure everyone left with a great experience. That was my goal. As we got bigger, and obviously I'm no longer in customer service, we have a whole team and everything, the culture of people taking their job personally has kind of continued. And so I've seen calls that last 5 minutes, and I've seen calls with customers that take almost 2 hours. Our people are taught to not rush a customer. We want people to have a really good experience because we don't want them to have buyer's remorse. We don't want someone to drop several hundreds of dollars, and in some cases over $1,000, $2,000, whatever it may be, and be like, oh crap, I just bought the wrong tire. We want people to go into it saying, okay, I feel really good about this purchase. Tire Agent took care of me. This is the company I want to stick with. And that's why people keep coming back and repurchasing and referring us.
That's interesting. And we just released our annual update not too long ago that talked a lot about how expensive it is to acquire customers now. I'm curious, I know traditionally like mattresses, tires, the unit economics are built off of like the one-time purchase because it is kind of infrequent. Maybe talk to us a bit about how you've looked at those economics. I mean, obviously it sounds like you're making a longer term investment into these clients, but yeah, I'm curious, like what are the buying, like how long does it take for somebody to come back? Unless obviously they're multi-vehicle, but if you're talking about just the kind of classic family.
Yeah. So I think I had read that the average household in America has like 1.8 vehicles, which is essentially 2 vehicles. So the way we look at it is obviously we want to be profitable on the first sale because if we're not, it's really tough, especially because it's an infrequent purchase. But I want to make sure that our agents are giving customers the very best experience they can give because we want referrals. Like that's how our business remains successful. And to this day, we have never sold a tire on eBay, Amazon, Walmart, any of the marketplaces. We are 100% tire sales on our own platform. And that's not saying that like I have anything against those businesses. It's just for us, it's more important to be profitable on the first sale because we don't have a lead gen like marketplace. And so the only way you're going to continue to keep growing, because you can't just only grow through paid acquisition, right? You just can't keep spending money on Google and Facebook and expect to always be profitable that way. You have to have an omni-channel approach when it comes to digital marketing. So you got to have referrals, you got to have SEO, you got to have partnerships, like a whole bunch of different things. And that's what we've done a really good job on. And if you're an online company and you don't care about your reputation, then you're a fool because we depend on repeat purchases. Like we want people to come back and purchase. Doesn't mean we want them to buy the wrong tire, come back and buy, right? But we want them to refer us to their spouse, their kids, their neighbors, their friends, coworkers, whatever. And that's what we get. And we continue to build momentum on that because it's like you said, it's very expensive to acquire a customer. So we have to put our best foot forward to get that customer to keep coming back.
I love it. That's really cool. Curious, as you're looking into 2025, there's a lot of trends, CAC, AI. What are some of the things that are kind of top of mind for you with your ecom business?
Yeah. So I went to recently like a conference for retail in New York, and it felt like every booth was AI within the name. And look, I love AI. I think there's a lot of great things about it. I think it makes your work a lot efficient, like a lot more efficient than it would before. But I don't see a world in which Tire Agent replaces our agents with AI. I like the personal connection that we get. Doesn't mean we don't use AI for other things, right? We use it for content. We use it for a lot of things to make our lives easier, to produce better quality stuff quicker. But customers still want to talk to somebody. So for me, when I think about 2025, I'm focusing on personalization. I'm focusing on how do I cater the results according to the customer. Now, does that mean I'm using AI? I don't know what that's going to be yet, but what we are planning is getting to the root of what people want and need, and then customizing the results based on that. And that's where my focus is. So whenever I hear all these e-com companies saying, oh, they're replacing agents with AI bots, it's like, what are you doing? People are chatting into a chat bot because they want to talk to somebody, not because they want to talk to a robot, and not because they want to talk to an AI person that's pretending to be a person. They want to talk to somebody because they want to know that they're being heard. And that's why we'll continue to push. But I think for 2025, personalization is my goal so that I can give people the best experience.
Really cool. Were you ever tempted to open up a brick and mortar?
Every day, but only because I love people. Like, I love talking to people about tires. I like the connection that you can build. We definitely have flirted with it, but I'm not here to replace, and I've said this before, I'm not here to replace brick and mortar. I'm here to complement it. Like, we love our installers that we've had for the past, whatever time we've been doing. I think it's been like a couple of years now. And we're very lucky. We have really good installers that really care about our customers. And I would rather strengthen our relationship with them than open up our own. And if we do ever open up our own, it's going to be because we don't have any installers in the area. But I would rather continue to drive customers to the tire stores that are working with us, continue to strengthen our relationship, and continue to do what we do best, which is give people education, give people a good purchasing experience and a research center where they can learn about the tires and make the best purchase that they feel good about. And that's where I want to focus my attention. It's not opening up retail stores. It's providing the best purchase experience, and then let our installers provide the best installation experience, because it's a different business.
Love it. And do you think there's any remaining categories online that have been historically maybe a bit more laggard that you think are kind of approaching the point where people are ready to start buying them online?
So much of online is made up of fashion and jewelry and stuff like that. And I think at that point, it's got some pretty good penetration. I think stores, furniture especially, I know Wayfair is doing a great job, and a lot of people use Wayfair and Amazon for very simple things. But I think furniture has a lot of room, because at the end of the day, I see e-com being almost like a hybrid over time of in-person and online. So like, the research has to start online. It can't start in the store, because you got to take the pressure away from the customer. You need them to be able to make a decision that's educated on their own so they feel good about it. But by the time they get to a store, they pretty much already picked out what they want, right? They bought it online. They're there to pick it up, or they're there to just organize everything, or maybe get like the final touches on a decision. But furniture, I think, still has plenty of room to go. Anything that's big and bulky. So in my head, I think furniture, I think mattresses are still probably tons of penetration to go. I think, believe it or not, we just got this office that I'm in right now in July, and I found it online and I went to the place. I feel like, even though it's not a tangible good, like, I did my research. I took a lot of time. Now, I felt like there could have been a better experience with finding the office space. And I feel like there's a lot of other categories like that that are still like on the precipice of about to have penetration online, but have not quite been there. I think clothing still has, even though a lot of people buy clothes online, the return rate is so high because they have not perfected the fit and the sizing guide online with like relating to customers. So even though online is a heavy, like big play for a lot of companies, they may have perfected the purchase experience, but the return rate, which means the post-purchase experience, is still terrible. And until somebody can solve or bridge that gap more, there's plenty of room to grow into any category you want. You just have to think about the other side, because you could do $100 million in sales, but if your return rate's 50, 60, 70%, what does that really mean? So that's how I kind of think about it. Like, our return rate is so low. So I feel like we do a really good job of helping people pick the right product.
I love it, Jared. Well, look, it's been amazing getting to know your story. Really appreciate you taking the time to hop on the podcast, and thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me.
The Ecommerce Toolbox Expert Perspectives is brought to you by Noibu. To find out more about Noibu and how we can help you debug your e-commerce site and rocket your revenue, visit www.noibu.com. That's Noibu.com. And then make sure to search for the Ecommerce Toolbox Expert Perspectives on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and click subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. On behalf of the team here at Noibu, thanks for listening.